I literally went from feeling like depressed and like shit in my job, not looking after my wellness, not looking after my mental health, had no businesses at that point really that were doing anything. Over the course of 2023, and certainly within the first 6 months of 2023, I had gone full-time as an entrepreneur. I became a coach. I started selling my journals online and in person. I hired a team for my businesses. And I did that all because I quit my corporate job, trusted my gut, and fundamentally started looking after my wellness and teaching my body that I was loved and that self-care is the utmost important thing. Basically, picking my poison. Are you going to pick the easy but hard long-term route, or are you going to pick the difficult and challenging short-term habits / actions for the long-term fulfillment and to have your happiness have longevity? Which one's it going to be? Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is part 2 of how you're going to bridge the gap between your current self and your ideal self, and how you're going to do that in a matter of months. I would recommend going to part 1 to go over what we've already gone through and how you can work towards becoming your ideal self based on the 5 things I mentioned in that video, because this kind of like premises, I guess, what I'm going to be speaking about in this video. So definitely head on over to part 1. It'll be down in the description below or at the end of this video. Let's talk about how you're going to become your ideal self. They're waiting for you on the other side. This is how you're going to become them. Start small. That is my biggest part, is to start small, because if you try and start implementing all of these things in one go, you're going to get burnt out. I would say, even as a side note, that you can start these things in spring, because it's my personal belief that the new year is not the best time to be working on yourself and trying to grow and trying to, go. It should be a time for rest, recuperation, and rejuvenation. You simply don't have the energy. It's not the time of year, certainly in Europe. I would say though, if you want to start in January, is to start small, and that's what I'm doing. Start small. One of my health goals this year is to really consider my nutrition, and I've written up here a food plan for the week for me and my partner. That's all I'm starting with at the moment. You don't have to take action on those straight away. Just even planning it is helpful. You're not going to be able to completely transform your life overnight, but you do need to commit to it on a regular basis, because it's those small incremental steps that are going to lead to big things. So give yourself time and start with things that, I guess, affect loads of things. So for example, the reason I started with the food thing and nutrition is because I know that affects my ability to do work, my ability to be motivated, and my ability to show up for myself. If I don't get enough sleep, and if I don't eat properly, I feel sluggish, I feel demotivated, I don't bother getting out of bed, I don't bother, getting my goals done, I don't feel like I want to choose myself or treat myself well that day. That's why I've chosen food. For you, it might be something different. It might be exercise. It might be, laying out your goals so that you know what direction you're headed in. I touched on this in part 1, but one of the truly, most dynamic things that I have realized in this success journey is focusing on the process. I get so bogged down and have a tendency to get so bogged down with what I'm aiming for. I want to have this amount of followers, I want to have this amount of sales, I want to have this amount of clients. That's all good and well, but over time that's not going to be satisfying enough, and obviously I'm going to reach a point where my expectations aren't going to match up to reality, and that's going to leave me disappointed, demotivated, and so on. So what I've realized is I have to focus on the process. That's all I can do. The result is great if I get there, but the process is what matters the most. And also the journey, cliche as it sounds, is what makes it interesting. Is the journey is the best part. So that's why it's important to set goals. So you're focusing on the small incremental things you're doing each day to work towards a specific goal, but you're not focusing on the goal. You're focusing on just getting what you need to do in that day done, or getting what you need to do in that month, year, whatever it is, done. You don't have time to be getting bogged down and getting distracted with feeling disappointed, feeling demotivated. I need to try and maintain my motivation as much as I can if I'm going to get to where I want to be. I can't be getting in my own way thinking, oh, why isn't this working? Or I've been doing this, getting entitled and being like, well, I've done this, so therefore I should have this outcome. It just doesn't work like that. And, I'm not special. Everybody who's done this process, everybody who's strived for greatness, everybody who's strived for what they want for themselves and success has to battle through this process. Some people do it at different rates than others, obviously. So it's just part of the process. It's just part of getting there. You have to focus on the small things and not focus too much on the end result that you're seeking. Celebrating the small wins is also part of that. You know, the other day I was complaining to my partner. I was like, oh, I just didn't get like the TikTok follower goal that I was looking for this year. And he was like, Hattie, literally this week you made your biggest ever, like best performing video ever. This particular video that I've made had got 3 or 4 times the amount of views of my previous best video. Like, it really brought me back down to earth and made me realize, like, shit, I actually need to be grateful for like what I've achieved, and the fact that I've reached like a really big milestone. Even if it's not exactly the result I was looking for, it's still progress. The end result will come eventually if you just keep focusing on the process. It's literally inevitable. If you keep going, if you keep striving, if you keep taking small actions every day, you're going to get there. Sometimes it's just a matter of patience. Also, I've realized as well, it's the process that makes you learn things that you weren't expecting to learn along the way. I'm about to enter a business competition where entrepreneurs can enter this program and they are in with a chance of winning and competing for £15,000. I've deliberately made the choice that I am not going to focus on the end result of £15,000. I am going to see the kind of like, I guess, side quests that come out of it. And these are all going to help me build myself as an entrepreneur. So I have to come up with obviously a business plan, how it's going to scale, my competitor analysis, all the usual things that you need as an entrepreneur, you know, all my financial statements, just like they do in Dragon's Den. It's a pitch. I'm not going to focus on winning the competition. That's fantastic if I do. What I'm going to focus on is the benefits I will reap from planning out these things for my business, understanding my business through and through this process. Another side quest as part of this will probably be presenting. I will have to present, I will have to pitch my business, letting myself be seen, letting myself take criticism and so on, and letting myself stand up in front of people and talk about something that I'm passionate about. That is the value I will be gleaning from this process. I guess the intangible benefits I will get from the competition outside of just that £15,000. That's another reason to focus on the process, because you're actually equipping yourself and adding to your arsenal, working towards that confident, composed, intelligent, savvy individual that you're keen to become. Focus on trusting yourself. That should be a really big point, because in order to be successful, as I touched on before, you have to be able to take criticism, and you've got to be able to review and like distinguish between constructive criticism and criticism that doesn't fucking mean anything. Constructive criticism is really important because it helps you grow, it helps you get there, and that's also another reason to be open to being seen, because you receive constructive criticism that actually helps you grow and become, you know, the person you want to be, become a more refined and deliberate person and good and like intentional person that you're keen to become. That's important. Also, it's important to be open to non-constructive criticism, because it helps you develop trust in yourself. You need to, you know, practice thinking, is this true? Is there any evidence for that? And asking yourself these questions. I remember my therapist saying to me, you know, is there any evidence of that? Is this true to me? Have I thought about why I've come to this conclusion and why I have this opinion and why people might find it vexing? And then practice in that moment being like, no, people might not agree with me, but I still stand with what I've said. I think a tendency, especially as people pleasers, and certainly formally for me, the moment that somebody disagreed with me or criticised me, I'd just be like, no, I'm wrong, that's it, that's the end of case. And so practicing trusting your judgment and your intuition is really important to getting to be that successful person, and being able to distinguish between, yes, okay, there's validity to that constructive criticism, and actually there's no validity to people just being rude, unhelpful, or just in disagreement, and that's okay. It's just going to make you more robust, more sure of yourself, and that is so important in becoming successful. You have to be so unequivocally sure of yourself, even in the face of backlash, negativity, scandal, unkind comments. You have to be extremely robust. It is just part and parcel of being seen, being successful, being famous, being somebody that is, you know, stands out. Following on from this then is then developing that strong sense of self and authenticity, and understanding that the more you work towards being your authentic self, the better you're going to attract. You're going to repel people that aren't aligned with you and draw in people that are aligned with you. You're going to magnetize, you're going to become magnetic to so many people who resonate with your message and resonate with what you have to say. When you're authentic and you talk about things that you think, you are going to polarize people. And as a people pleaser or a recovering people pleaser, that is extremely uncomfortable. And a lot of people are people pleasers. A lot of people have people pleaser tendencies, obviously on a scale, but society, encourages us to be amenable and be people pleasers and be, what other people want us to be. And it's so dangerous to your success, so detrimental to your mental health. Authenticity is the way forward. And being uncomfortable in that short term again, for the long-term benefit, is so important in this situation. Your trust in who you are has to be so much more powerful than what anybody else could think. It has to be more powerful than people who think positively about you. It doesn't matter. Like, personally for me, I used to have to seek other people's validation that I was like attractive or pretty. And now when somebody pays me a compliment about my appearance, it's lovely and I like it, but in my head it doesn't give me the same validational boost or dopamine hit when somebody compliments me on my appearance, because I kind of like, I already feel that about myself. I already feel good about myself and the way I look, and I already feel pretty. So you kind of got to come to the same situation with, say, if somebody said that I was ugly, like, I've got to a point where I'm happy in the way I look. And if somebody were to say, oh, you're butters or you're ugly or whatever, it just doesn't mean anything to me. Like, I know that I like the way I look, and that's really all that matters. And I suppose it's just extrapolating that and like applying that to other aspects of your life. When criticism comes, it only hurts because part of you believes that it might be true. If someone were to say to me, you let people walk all over you, part of me would be hurt by that, because I know that that's something that I'm still working on. I'm still reinstating my boundaries and standing up for myself. So that would hurt me because part of me believes that to be true about myself. Getting to the point where you're so authentic and so in love with all parts of yourself and understanding of all parts of yourself that you can literally thrive no matter what anybody says is like the ultimate place to get to. Overcome what society's told you need to be like. For example, for me, like, one of the things that I know is going to help me become my authentic self is to not dim my light depending on who I'm around. So I refuse, honestly, at this point, to be surrounded by people that I have to shrink myself for, that I feel guilty being around because I am perhaps so different from them, unaligned with them, like I trigger them, whatever it is. I no longer want to be, and I'm committed to no longer being around people that I can't be my true self with. And that's uncomfortable because it's like means, moving away from certain people and connections. It means taking yourself out of certain spaces. It means stop engaging in certain activities that once, were fun or whatever. I know that the only way I can work towards being authentic and therefore create success for myself and bridge that gap between who I want to be and who I am and who I ideally want to be is to practice choosing the authentic side of me, not the people pleaser side of me, not the person that's amenable, not the person that shrinks, not the person that, fits into a box that wasn't meant for them. Like, when those opportunities arise for you to pick one or the other, people pleaser version or amenable version or authentic version, pick the authentic version. That's what's going to help you move towards that person that you are deep down, and having to unlearn what you've been told you should be like and actually coming back to yourself. I know this sounds all sort of like intangible and like hard to grasp, but I guess just understanding, again, like going into sort of understanding how aware you are of your own toxic traits, your tendencies, and that really helps you bridge that gap, because the more self-aware you are, the more you're able to trust yourself and your own judgment, and therefore you're able to become more authentic. So it's really just a positive cycle. Final thing, which is a little bit of a different topic compared to what I've been speaking about for the most part of this video, is healing your relationship with money. The way you spend money, your spending habits, and the way you see money is really, really important. I watched this podcast recently and I can't for the life of me remember what it was called or who it was, but it was this man who had written a book and he had made like a lot of money from it. And he was on this podcast talking about his relationship with money. I think the book was about your relationship with money and how he sees money as love. He sees money there to serve him. He sees money as not money itself, but rather a manifestation of, exchange of value, and how he can create value in himself and for other people that then is on the same vibration as money and therefore attracts money for him to then live, prosper, so on. So I realized last year that I really wanted to heal my relationship with money, and that's, I think, one of the big things that has helped me bridge the gap between like who I was and who I am now, and also I'm going to continue to become, is really focusing on how I view money and not being scared of money, being able to like let it flow, allow money to be let go. Past year, I've been struggling with money, and I found myself, because I'm insecure about money, I'm coming to money with such a lack mindset, such a mindset of like, well, the opposite of abundance. And the thing is, in order to align yourself with monetary abundance, you have to believe that money is going to come back to you, that money is there for you, and that money is there to serve you. If you believe that money is like scary and you see it as this negative thing that's like is a representation of like your lack of, it's going to be really hard for you to like draw money in if you see money in that way, because you're going to repel it. You're going to be like, your body's going to like push it away. So obviously, within reason, definitely do your research about like your relationship with money and understanding your finances. But as I said in the first part 1 of this video, understanding your finances is one step to getting a better relationship, or developing a better relationship with money, because you're understanding where you're at, you're understanding where you need to go from here. And it just puts everything into perspective. Those people that like bury their head in the sand when it comes to their finances and buries their head in the sand when it comes to their money are the people that truly suffer, because they're so fearful of it that they don't even want to look at it. They don't even want to acknowledge that it's there, because they don't want the reality of their financial situation to be acknowledged by them. But the thing is, once you acknowledge your financial situation, you can do something about it. You can work towards fixing that relationship and fixing your financial situation. Without seeing money as there to serve you, without viewing money as there to like help you and help you prosper, simply as like a form of energy, there's not much you can do. Putting aside 50 quid to save is seeing money as love. You're seeing it as like, this £50 is going to contribute to my happiness in the future, is going to contribute to like my abundance in the future. Thank you, like universe, thank you for giving me this energy of £50. I'm going to allocate it to my future. That's treating money with love. If you treat money with love and money with care and be intentional about what you're spending, it's going to come back to you. It's going to come back to you in abundance. So healing that relationship with money, and certainly type in on YouTube how to heal your relationship with money, is really important, and it's something that I'm definitely working on and will continue to work on in order to develop and create more financial abundance for myself. Anyway, that's it for both part 1 and part 2 of bridging the gap between your current self and your ideal self in a matter of months. I hope you gleaned some value from it. I really enjoyed making this video. I find it so satisfying. I find it so enjoyable. I love talking about goal setting, leveling up, taking accountability, and the intersection between like spirituality and like mindset work and goal setting, success, and so on. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to comment down below. I want to hear your experiences of success. Any of the topics I've discussed, I really want you to sound down in the comments, your thoughts on, what your goals are, what your plans are for 2024, how you're going to bridge the gap between your current self and your ideal self. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.